Alright, there's a lot to talk about in today's video, so I'm just going to dive right into it. The new Kobo Libra Color is a fantastic e-reader. Heck, I would even argue it's one of the best devices I've used for reading. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Keep your expectations in check. Even though there's a lot to be excited about with the Libra Color, at the end of the day, this thing is meant for one thing only, and that is reading books. My entire review will be focused on the experience of reading and if this device helps us read better. Now, I know I just told you that the Libra Color is one of the best devices I've ever used for reading, but there's one specific thing about it that I really do not like, and that is the build quality. This entire device is made out of plastic, and for an e-reader that costs $220 US, I was really hoping for a more premium feel when I hold this thing. Don't get me wrong, I really love how Kobo is prioritizing the use of recycled plastics. I also love how the Libra Color is water resistant, but I just want to make sure I make this point very clear. Even though the tech inside the Libra Color is very impressive, the outer shell is not too exciting. I'd even argue that the old Libra 2 feels more premium than the new Libra Color. Now, while we're on the topic of build quality, I just want to say my biggest gripe with the outside of the Libra Color are these page turn buttons. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know how passionate I am about button quality, and the Libra has always been a series of devices that I've struggled with when it comes to page turn buttons. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it really isn't that big of a deal. If you press the button directly in the center of the button, it works very reliably, but if you press it off center a little bit, that is when the issue comes up. And on my device at least, the bottom button works really well, but the top button feels very different. It definitely feels less clicky than the bottom button does. The last thing I do want to mention regarding build quality is it seems like Kobo is partnering with a company called iFixit. Now, we don't have too many details quite yet, but the idea that I'm thinking is that they're going to be introducing repairability. So the idea that you can replace the battery, for example, when the Kobo's battery starts to be worn out. This is a huge deal because if you buy a Libra Color and you can repair it 5 years down the road, that could potentially double the life of your Kobo, which is something we don't really see anywhere in the market right now. Alright, now that we've discussed my least favorite part of the Libra Color, let's jump to the other end of the spectrum and let me share my most favorite feature, which is hands down the snappiness and speed of the Libra Color. Now, even though this is not really a headline feature like the color screen or the stylus or the new note-taking capabilities, but I just have to say, for me, in everyday use, this is probably the biggest improvement that I've seen. Especially if you're coming from an older e-reader that is several years old now, I guarantee you the speed and responsiveness of the Libra Color will be the biggest quality of life improvement for you. The reason we have a speed improvement is because the Libra Color is one of the first e-readers to be using the new e-ink Carta 1300 display, which is a 35% speed improvement over the old 1200 model. Now, just like when the e-ink Carta 1200 display came out several years ago, it did take some time for all the Kindles, Kobos, and e-readers to upgrade to this new display panel, and I think the same thing will be happening with the 1300 display. But for right now, the Libra Color and the Kobo lineup over here is one of the first devices to be using this new technology, and it's just really fun to see how much faster this device is compared to every other device that I've used. Just a few examples of where I've noticed speed improvements. Opening a book feels so much faster, highlighting inside of a book feels really fast, typing notes feels really quick, opening up notebooks and changing settings feels really quick. All of these things add up quite a bit, and this new e-ink display panel is a really nice upgrade. Alright, let's discuss the elephant in the room. You are probably wondering how the color technology is on the Libra Color, and I've got to say, I am thoroughly impressed overall. Now, before getting into all the little details, I do want to reiterate the point that whether or not you're using the color features, all that matters is reading. What matters most is having a daily reading habit. Something that has really helped me read more books is being part of a book club, and if you're interested in reading a nonfiction book with me and over 1,000 other people every single month, I want to invite you to join my book club called Presently Reading. Being part of a book club community has been such a powerful way to hold myself accountable to read a new book every single month, and not only that, meet other bookworms from around the world who have a similar passion for nonfiction books and just getting different perspectives on the books that we read. It's been a really wholesome experience and it's totally free to join. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested. Now, if you didn't know, Kobo is definitely not the first company to come out with a color e-reader. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I reviewed something called the Onyx Books Tab Mini C, which is also a color e-reader device, and it uses the same exact Kaleido 3 technology. Kaleido 3 is essentially a color filter that sits on top of the black and white e-ink panel, so you have two different resolutions. You have a black and white resolution and a color resolution, which is completely separate. The black and white part of the display is still 300 ppi, which is the same resolution that we've become accustomed to. It looks really great and crispy, even with the color filter on top of it. Now, when it comes to the color resolution, it's actually supposed to be 150 ppi, half the resolution, but in reality and in my use, it looks very crispy and very clean. I've been reading on the Libra Color now every single day for about a week, and I have to say, I cannot tell any difference between the black and white resolution and the color resolution. They did a really great job with implementing that color filter on this device. Everything looks great. Highlighting in books looks nice and crispy. Images look great. Book covers look great. Everything looks really nice. Now, I'm sure if you looked at things really, really closely, you would notice some differences in resolution. You would notice some ghosting here and there, and there is some of that in my day-to-day use. But look, I have to say that overall, I don't have any major complaints. I'm very impressed with the color technology on this. It's very seamless. Another really important point that I want to call out is the software side of the color technology. On devices like the Tab Mini C, there was just way too much customization that you had to deal with. Different speed modes, the ability to adjust the contrast levels, it all got very overwhelming. On the Kobo, there's literally nothing to worry about. There's no other settings or adjustments you have to make. The color just works all the time, and I'm sure some people will be missing out on those speed modes and extra adjustments, but I think for the vast majority of people who are reading on the Kobo Libra Color, having less settings will be more helpful. Having simplicity is my preferred way of software. Now, there is one setting that I found buried in the reading options. It's called Reduce Rainbow Effect. This is a unique setting to the color model right now, and I don't really know what it does because I haven't really had to use it yet, but apparently there could be an issue where you see a rainbow effect on some images, and this toggle is supposed to help with that. But again, I haven't had to use this option at all. When I first got the Libra Color, I was also really worried that the screen would be a lot darker because of the new color filter that's being placed on top of the screen. And yes, the screen is a bit darker, but in my use of the device, it really has not been an issue. When you put the Libra Color side by side with the old Libra 2, you can very clearly tell that the Libra Color is much darker than the Libra 2. You can also see the Libra 2 is a lot more crispy in terms of the text resolution because there's less filters and less layers between your eyes and the text. But again, I did not notice any of this until I put the devices side by side. In practice, I always have the front light turned on a little bit anyway, so you may have to put that up a little bit higher than you're used to on the Libra Color, but in reality, it works just fine. And so far, the battery has not suffered for me either. It seems to be lasting very well from my experience so far. Now, I do want to take a second to share my personal opinion about Color e-ink, and even though I think this technology is really cool and it looks great and it feels nice and new, I don't think it's worth the hype for most people. Like I've been saying throughout this whole video, at the end of the day, what matters is reading books. And if you're reading graphic novels or comics or manga, then these new color features might be essential for you. But if you're like me and only read text-based books, then you really don't need color. In fact, I think it's actually an extra distraction. Yes, having my book covers in color is really nice. Yes, being able to highlight in actual color is really nice, but you don't really need any of these features. I'd argue that these new color features actually makes the e-reader feel more like my iPad or my phone, which is not the vibe that I want for my device that is meant for reading. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but having a device that was literally just meant for reading and physically limited to black and white just felt a lot more intentional to me. Having color, in my opinion, takes away a bit of that magic. I guess you'll have to make your own judgment on whether or not color is worth it for you. The last headline feature that I want to talk about right now is the ability to take handwritten notes with the stylus on the Libra Color. Now, the stylus is sold separately at a cost of $70 US, so it is not cheap. I definitely recommend only buying it if you know for sure you'll be taking handwritten notes. Now, the best way I can describe the stylus is a bit of a meh experience. I wasn't the biggest fan of unboxing it. It had these tacky looking stickers all over it, which I peeled off right away. When I tried using it on the Libra Color, it didn't work right away either. The stylus actually has a USB-C port directly on it, which looks a little strange to me, but it is there. And to use it, you have to charge it first and turn it on and then pair it. It actually does not charge or pair magnetically. Now, to be clear, there are magnets on the Libra Color to hold the stylus in place, but you can't use that for charging. You have to use the USB-C port for that every once in a while. When it comes to actually using the stylus and writing on the Libra Color, I would also describe that experience as a bit matte. When you compare it to my Kindle Scribe, for example, I definitely see a bit more of a delay. It doesn't feel as responsive, and I also don't like the feeling of not having too much friction when writing on the screen. On my Scribe, it feels much more paper-like, whereas on the Libra Color, it definitely feels more like writing on a screen. With that being said, there are two very big positives that I want to focus on when it comes to handwriting. The first is the Smart Notebook feature. Compared to Kindle, I do like the Kobo notebooks a lot better. You have the ability to do smart things like underlining text to turn it into a heading. You could scribble text out to delete things. They have all these shortcuts built into the handwriting, and you could even convert a block of handwriting text to digital text directly in the notebook without having to export anything. I also like how they have direct integration with Dropbox or Google Drive. Kindle has none of that. You have to use your email. So Kobo definitely has a step ahead when it comes to third-party apps. I do wish the screen was a tad bit bigger. I did find it a little awkward at times writing on the 7-inch screen. I do like having a portable screen compared to the large e-note devices that we usually see, but 7 inches did feel a little too small at times. The second handwriting feature that I absolutely love is the ability to take notes and mark up Kobo books that you buy directly from the bookstore. Something that I find absolutely absurd on the Kindle ecosystem is if you buy a book from the Kindle store on the Kindle Scribe, you cannot write inside the book without using the sticky note feature. But on the Kobo, you can mark up the book in the margins, you can underline things, circle things, you can write directly in the book whenever you want on the book itself. It really is a cool experience. It's just like having a real book in your hands with a pen and being able to mark it up. And in case you're wondering, you can take notes and then adjust the font size. Now, normally if you adjust the font size after marking up a book, it would completely disrupt all your underlines and circles and markup. But the way this works is it'll actually preserve all those annotations and give you the preview option so you can see how it looked before you change the settings. I thought this was a really seamless way of doing it, and I really do hope Kindle steals this idea down the road and introduces handwritten notes inside of books from the Kindle store. That would be great. But I gotta say, even though we have this feature on Kobo, I don't really see myself using it very often. This is probably just a me thing and a bit of an adjustment, but I haven't really gotten rid of that old habit of just highlighting and taking notes inside of the highlights. I really do want to try marking up books more, but the hard part is reviewing those markups. With highlights, I can sync those all to Readwise and review them later, but with markup, you literally have to go back into the Kobo book and review your markup manually in the book. One feature request I do have for the Kobo team is the ability to take handwritten notes attached to a highlight. Right now, you still have to type out your notes, but I would love the ability to just take a handwritten note and have that converted to regular text so those can be synced to third-party apps like Readwise. That would be a really cool experience. Now, if you enjoy learning about the Libra Color, I definitely want to recommend my other review video of the Onyx Books Tab Mini C. It's a very similar device, but it's made by a lesser known company, but it has even more customization because it's an Android software-based system. Link for that video on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.